Thank you so much. Oops, you just started, right? Okay.
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Latinos in Clinical Research. Ashley Madrigal. I am an RSM2 from a global CRO, one of the co-founders for Latinos in Clinical Research. Monica, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself for anybody that's new.
Yeah, hello, my name is Monica Cuitiva. I'm one of the Latinos in Clinical Research co-founders, as well as the CRC Academy, and I am also a site manager, site
That's right.
director.
And we got Dr. Al Jazairli. Little known fact, Dr. Al Jazairli is one of our co-founders for Latinos in Clinical Research. We're gonna open up his clinic in East LA, maybe in the next month or so, with an official LICR get together. And so, how's it going, Dr. Al? Welcome to your first Latinos in Clinical Research.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Dan,
Yeah,
how
Dr.
are
Al,
you guys? How are you,
oncologist,
Monica? How are you?
world-renowned
Okay.
oncologist, hematologist, clinical researcher, community-based oncologist, which is rare. You don't see that anymore. And in an area, well, he has many sites, but in one in particular is like 99% Latino. So Dr. Al, we're very lucky to have you on today. We're going to be talking about the
Thank you, Dan.
vaccines, all three of the vaccines. And Ashley and Monica found some really good articles. And so we're using that as a starting point for the conversation. But we're definitely going to refer to you many times here because you're, as far as I know, the
Don't
only
scare me.
physician that's on. You're the only physician that's on. This is not medical advice, though, guys. Not medical
Okay,
advice.
no medical advices.
And when I start talking about stocks, it's not financial advice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, everybody. We're super excited to have this today. It's it's a second or third series for the COVID-19. So first off, before we get started, if you are new or if you have not already subscribed, please go to our website. And Monica, if you can put it in the chat, please, just so that people can have it. Through there, you will get notices from Dan. No spam, of course, just as a notice in advance when these meetings will be happening. And also, now we have this new thing that we have where we're having job postings, right, Dan? So, and he just posted some new job openings. Please let everybody know. You will get notified, I believe, via email as there's new jobs coming in. So, just a good reference for you to have.
Yeah, and if you're an employer, it's very easy. You just fill out a form and you type in exactly the description and who people need to email, and then you won't be notified by email. You have to check. See, we gotta have people keep coming back, but you want to come back, guys. It's articles on there, it's videos, it's podcasts. Who wouldn't want to come back? So if you're looking for a job, you don't know. Maybe I'm gonna post 3 tomorrow. So you might have to come tomorrow, or maybe the day after. So yeah, we can't send emails every time. Otherwise, your inbox would be getting slammed with LICR, and then you'd unsubscribe. So we can't have that.
All right.
All
So,
right, so you will start. We have two topics that we wanted to bring to the table today that are very interesting. First one is the main difference in between the Pfizer Moderna vaccine with Johnson and Johnson vaccine, and then also and also what happened with AstraZeneca vaccine. So I'm going to start by mentioning what happened. The difference in between the Pfizer and Moderna, and the main difference. And obviously, we're going to have.
sorry, Monica, real quick, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. If everybody can please put their phone on mute, just so that we can be able to hear the speaker in the meantime. Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Monica.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the main difference, and then I'm gonna let Dr. Al speak about that a little bit more. I put you in the spot as usual. So the main difference is that Pfizer and Moderna are messenger RNA vaccines. And then the Johnson and Johnson vaccine has a technology that was used in the Ebola vaccine, which is a virus that has been altered. So this is called Adenovirus Vaccine. And what happened with this vaccine is that it can make you sick or it can replicate. And it's a special genetic code that spikes the protein So that's why it gets is highly effective. It's actually 85% effective. and and then so because it's only this one is only one dose, and then the other ones are two dose. The And then also the storage is different, because the other ones need to be stored in a I believe 70 and up, uh, um sorry,
Celsius.
70 minus 70
Yes.
minus 70. And then the Johnson and Johnson vaccine is a different way to storage, and obviously it's only one vaccine. And then because it's only one vaccine, the amount of side effects and the severity of this is lower than the other ones. So I don't know what Dr. Al thinks about these three vaccines, and so we would love to hear your medical background about this.
We know that, like, from the thing we see that the most effective one now, efficacious one medication vaccine is the Moderna and the Pfizer, and they are like the two vaccine 14 days apart. Johnson and Johnson is not active as much as active as, but can provide enough protection for the patient. And uh, in my opinion, even Chris will argue with me, everybody should have a vaccine. Okay. And why? Because the complication of vaccination is going to be much less than you getting the virus and get infected by the virus, especially for the one who's immunocompromised or the one who have medical problems that need protection. For young teenagers, for young 20s, 30s population, I think that they can get the infection, and maybe their symptoms would be much less than anyone who's immunocompromised or older in age.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I mean that's obviously wonderful to know.
Yeah.
And at least we have three options now.
Yeah.
So before we only had pretty much one option, and now we have three. The number for vaccine that is out there, but now it's been removed in many countries in Europe, is the Astrazeneca vaccine. And the reason why it's been removed is because many of the people that got vaccinated were experiencing blood clots,
Mhm.
and actually some of these patients died because of this vaccination. I don't know if Dr. Al have heard anything about it or have read anything about the AstraZeneca problem.
Mainly the same thing that's published. I didn't see anything yet out there in the journals about the vaccine, except what's published. It's causing a lot of clots, and the complication of the clotting itself, if the blood clots happen in the lower extremity or in the lung, lower extremity can move to the lung, and that will be very critical and can cause death, as you mentioned, Monica. I think that's what the main reason to remove it from the market is, like, the clotting, the mechanism of clotting, and why this vaccine causing clotting and the other vaccine is not causing clotting. I didn't see any explanation for it yet. Okay, so, and we know that AstraZeneca mechanism of action is completely different from the other vaccines.
Yeah, that was one of the questions I had, was to see if there was any similarities in that, and if they should consider also reviewing that. But if there's the mechanisms not the same, then in that situation, then it makes sense.
Yeah, it is different mechanism for I think the AstraZeneca is combination of two proteins together, different from the mRNA that happen in Pfizer and Moderna.
Awesome. And would you say, Dr. Alf, I guess because from your area where you're at, and I'm assuming you have a lot of like Latino community that go see you, that are subjects and things like that. Would you say that they're being very receptive to the vaccines? And if so, have you noticed which ones they're preferring, or what's the most
Most
common?
probably, if all my patients who ask me to get it, to get the vaccine, I will say yes. go ahead and do it. It's for you because you're immunocompromised. It's better for you than waiting until to get the infection, and then you're going to have the long-term complication of the infection itself, the fibrosis of the lung, and sometimes cardiac condition or neurological condition from the infection itself. A certain patient, the one who's getting Rituxan, which is an anti-CD20 medication, the patient, they get it, usually they do not respond to the vaccine as the other patients. So I have to check their white blood cell to see if they have enough white blood cell to produce immunoglobulin to fight the infection or not. But most of the other patients, like a breast cancer getting chemotherapy, yes, I recommend it for them to get it.
We got a question from CRA Academy student Angel Moses, who's doing a very good job. Angel, thank you for all your work in the internship. Dr. Al, a question for Dr. Al. Do you know anything about the Novavax vaccine that's supposed to come out in the spring?
No.
I think we have some information that I might be able to share. Dan, could you please give me the chance to share?
Oh yeah, okay. Let's make you.
So I can, because we have the for each vaccine, so maybe we can analyze that, or actually Dr. Al can analyze that for us.
Novavax is interesting. I mean, they're obviously been doing vaccines for a long time. They had I think we covered Novavax on the Clinical Research Circle, which is our stock channel. But Monica's sharing her screen.
Let me see.
Oh, Monica, I'm very impressed. What is this?
Here it is. Here
wow.
it is.
All the slides and drawing. And, oh my gosh, Monica.
Dr. Al loves it.
So this is it. This is the Novavax, doctor. Maybe you can give us some insight about this.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. 89% efficiency.
Oh.
So it's 2 doses.
And this is 2 injection or 1?
2 doses, yeah, 2 injections.
21 days apart. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Nanoparticles are.
I'm curious, do you guys think that, I mean, me personally, I actually feel like, I think if the idea or the goal is to get everybody vaccinated, or at least a massive portion of everybody to get vaccinated, I mean, I personally feel that, 2 doses, not that it's a lot, but I just feel like, if you're going to want people to come back, or if you're going to, especially if they have a bad response the first time, what are the chances of them going and getting the second one? I feel, in a vaccine that can keep it at 1 dose is probably got a higher chance of getting more people vaccinated, me personally. But
I think the studies showed that the 1 vaccine will give you about 50 to 55% protection. 2 vaccine will bump it up to 89 to 90, 95. And having the 90, 95, especially for the patient or the people population, they needed this to go back and work and be more efficient. If you're going to give them 50-50 chance of going back to work, so that your economy not going to be as reliable as having the protection of 98%, 95%, 98% protection. I think that's the idea of the 2 vaccine.
And I know, and I guess correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure everybody's heard on this, but is it true? I think that some vaccines, if not all of them, they're not just 1 and done or 2 and done. It's something you're gonna have to go back consecutively to redose, even after you've done, say, the 2 doses and finish.
You need, Margie, you need to look at it as the flu. Mm-hmm. Eventually, the COVID gonna be like the flu.
Yeah.
Until now, every year we do vaccine for the flu, and this is how it's gonna be. Okay, maybe there's gonna be another variant of every 5 years or 6 years, so they have to change the vaccine. But most probably gonna end up as the flu, having to be vaccinated to protect yourself from the flu and the COVID in the same time.
Okay.
Doctor, I have a question. So this is probably a very naive question, but for example, if somebody gets vaccinated, they choose to have to use the Pfizer or Moderna or this one Novavax, and then they have the first dose, but then they have bad effects and don't want to come back for the second dose. What will be do they still have some sort of
They will
coverage
have some,
or?
yeah, but they will not have it as the two doses. Okay, they'll have like about 50% protection, but it's not as the two doses. So it depends if you get it like as normally, you're gonna get like about 60 to 70% antibodies in your
Oh,
body.
okay.
But
Oh,
the most important thing is the long-acting one, which is the effect on the T cell. That's why now when you find a vaccine or studying a vaccine, they're talking about the direct immunization and the late one or the dormant one in the T cell, how this vaccine is stored.
okay. And then, thank you. And then the next question is, for example, let's say, obviously we have all these options of vaccine. Let's say we have these 4 options, and then, for example, you have different patients with different conditions, and obviously each of these patients will have different effects with different vaccines. Would you recommend a different vaccine with for each of these patients, depending on their condition or depending on the maybe background, doctor?
Between Pfizer and Moderna, no, there's no difference. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's all the same. And I think Johnson will apply the same thing. Get whatever you can get.
Oh,
That's the
okay.
bottom line.
That's the bottom.
Get
Okay.
protected. I don't
Okay.
think it is worth it to get the infection and have the complication of it, and just wait. I don't believe in this.
So we have a member here that's saying so for instance, I think this is for the Novavax, right? It's kind of similar to the mRNA vaccine. mRNA vaccine, the body identifies the proteins. For me, it's been difficult to be explaining to people that immune response to a vaccine is different than getting sick from the vaccine. I think there are a lot of people who still think you can catch COVID from the vaccine.
No,
Mm.
this is not a virus. This is the RNA of the virus that's attached to some kind of receptor that can make the immune response similar to the virus, but it's not a virus. You do not get you don't get infected with the virus when you get the vaccine. It will protect you from getting infected in the virus in the future, the near future and the long-term future.
So, and then I guess on that topic, would you state for instance, somebody that has already, who had gotten COVID and who has the antibodies and even took the test? Because I know some people who had COVID, some of them didn't necessarily have reappearing antibodies. So for somebody that does have antibodies, would you say it was still a good thing for them to get the vaccine, or that they would be okay not to get it?
Usually, now the recommendation, if somebody get the virus and get infected, they ask him to wait like about 8 to 12 weeks before he get the other the actual vaccine.
Okay, that's good to know.
And patient like this who get the virus and like this, I recommend for him Johnson and Johnson, because this is going to be as a booster for him. He already have the antibody. He have already the long term. It's just a booster for him. A boost injection with Johnson and Johnson will be very good. That's what I think.
Awesome. And so in your area, doctor, have you noticed if most of patients, or if you've heard, because I know, and maybe you can also chime in too, Dan and Monica in California, have there been actual, I guess, organizations that are going out there trying to give vaccines to the more rural areas and communities?
And then my hospital is like now designated as a vaccine center. So like I think 3 days or 4 days a week, you see like a whole long line of cars uh, to drive through vaccination in this hospital.
That's good. Because I one of the things that I had popped up, and I don't know if maybe you can share money or we could just kind of provide it in the chat so people can reference it for later. But this was created, published just recently, March 3rd. It's latest data on COVID-19 vaccinations and race and ethnicity. And as of March 1st, the CDC data showed that race ethnicity was known for just over half, 54% of people who received at least one dose. Among this group, nearly 2/3 were white, 65%. 9% were Hispanic, 7 were Black, and 5% were Asian, 2% were American Indian and Alaskan Native. And I find that really just I find that interesting, given how much exposure um, that COVID has had just in general in the past year. You would think that, even yes, given the fact that, there are some, disparities in that funds and whatever the reason might be, that yes, there would probably be still some difference in how many people would actually receive the vaccine. But I thought that, 9% Hispanic receiving at least the first dose is extremely low and surprising. I don't know. I don't,
And
at
we
least,
have, oh, sorry, Ashley. I was
okay,
going to
go
say
ahead.
we have Dr. Hazen joined us as
Ah,
well. And Dr. Hazen's been doing her own research, actually, as a sponsor. So maybe Dr. Hazen, we've been talking about the vaccine. How are you doing, by the way? Thank you
your
for
mute's
coming
on.
on. You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. We see the hair. We
I
love
know,
it.
and it's all messy
Great
today.
hair
It's all
day.
messy. I'm going for the mad scientist look,
Love it.
so
We like it. We like it. So what's going on in your end? Like, what do you think about the vaccine? What do you think about
oh
treatments?
wait, I'm on
You've been doing the
I
study.
flipped myself. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah, I could see like the office is
Yes.
great. So what, like, tell us about we just had Dr. Al Jazairli, who's a world-renowned oncologist in
Right.
LA that I
Right.
monitor. And then I also monitor Dr. Hazen. She's in Ventura, Dr. Al. So you guys have probably heard me talking to each other about the
I
other.
think I
But here
met
you
her,
are
or I
together.
met one of her associate in DIA last year with you and Chris.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. DIA
We
in
were touring
2019.
back when
Of
we were on a
course.
See?
touring tour, you and I, Dan.
Yeah, when you can still go to conferences, that's coming
I hope
back.
so.
So Dr. Hazen, what do you think? What do you think? I mean,
What do I think about the vaccine that came out in 9 months clinical trials? What do I think about a trial that went from animal study in rapid time and then went from animal studies all the way to phase 3 in 9 months? Is that what you're asking me, Dan?
Yes.
I guess.
I think that's an
I want to
all-time
hear it.
record in clinical trial. In 25 years, I've never seen this. Have you, Dan? But you're much younger than I am.
No, I have not.
I have never seen this.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Now, I like to proud myself that I do good research, right? You've seen me. We've talked, you and I, Dan. I'm by the book. If a drug is good, it's coming out. If a drug is bad, it's staying out. I don't care if they pay me millions of dollars. I am not going to change my tone on a good drug or a bad drug. Okay. However, the science that is going on and the research and the clinical trial that is going on with vaccination is just beyond. Okay. And it is something that has, I'm sure, a lot of my colleagues that are scientists baffled, and a lot of people that do clinical research baffled, because there are certain things we want to see, right? Safety measures. This is why we do phase 1. If you look at the animal studies of one of the vaccine studies, they took 6 chimpanzee monkeys. They gave them the vaccine in 3 and the vaccine in placebo. Then they killed the monkeys after a week, and they noticed 2 of the placebo had lung problems, and therefore They had lung problems. Oh, well, must mean that the vaccine's working. Let's go to phase 1. And then we go from phase 1 all the way to phase 3. So, I have a problem with that. Speed research, because then that becomes an experiment, right? We don't have a control group. Everybody should be vaccinated. Line up, humanity, vaccinate. What happens if they're wrong? Can you tell me? What happens if they're wrong?
They will die from the vaccine.
What happens? It's
No,
humanity.
I'm sorry. They're going to die from the virus.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Wait,
of course.
wait.
Are you clinical?
Let's talk about
Are
that.
you in the clinic? Are you in the
I'm
clinic?
in my clinic.
Do you
Let's talk about the virus.
Do you see a patient in a hospital intubated and hardly
Wait.
can
Let's
breathe?
talk about the virus.
Do you see them?
Let's talk about the virus. Dan, does this doctor know what I do for a living? What if you're wrong? What if it's not the vaccine is the solution? What if it's actually the microbiome is the solution?
Yeah, you
right?
need to talk
And
to
we're
Dr.
killing
Fauci
our
about it.
microbiome.
But I don't think
Yeah.
people shouldn't get
about the
vaccine
microbiome?
because
Do you
I
know
think it is
anything about the
proven it is
microbiome?
effective. It's reducing the infection and the economies are back to open.
Oh,
Why
the
it is
economy.
open?
Let's worry about
Because
the economy.
the patient is not vaccinated.
Microbiome. What is a strong microbiome? What is it? How does a farmer kiss his wife who has COVID-19 and doesn't catch COVID? How does that happen?
Because he's a farmer.
Oh, because he's a farmer. Okay, so what's different about him?
His immune system.
To all the people?
He's back. He's all day cutting, and his immune system is good. But you come here to the city,
so wait.
you have people that
his
living
immune
on the
system is good. His immune system is good. Where's his immunity? In his gut, in his microbiome. So I think we should pay attention to the microbiome instead of keep on putting Band-Aids like we keep doing in medicine forever and ever. We should understand what we're doing. Who has done microbiome analysis of this virus? Who has?
So,
Could
Dr.
3,042 therapeutic studies out there.
I don't know, but there is not.
Could you
nothing
talk about the
proven about the microbiome and effect on the virus?
So Dr. Solica, you remember me asking, so then your focus then is more on the gut biome and how it can help. So what approach are you taking with your research?
I'm looking at patients before and after treatment to see if the virus disappears. Mm-hmm. I'm also looking at what is in the microbiome of those who are high risk and had severe disease versus those who didn't have severe disease. So, I'm a little bit, I could say, upset about the way that research is going. I'm a bit upset about let's just treat everybody the same way. And I just think we forget about individuality and we forget about inner strength and certain people that have a certain strength and a certain immunity, and we put everybody in a category, and that's something that I just I'm not excited about putting everybody in the same category.
So if you remember me asking, because you're talking about people that have probably more sickness and people that are semi-normal or however you would like to put that, but do you also separate based off on ethnicity? Because we all know that ethnicities also have different backgrounds, eating habits, all that. Do y'all focus on that, or it's more of just healthy individual and individual?
We focus on everything. We have been analyzing the microbiome for the last 2.5 years. We have 42 clinical trials on the microbiome and disease. We have an idea of what's going on in the microbiome, that why these people we're coming out with a signature microbiome that makes some people, survive COVID, like myself. I've been on the front line. No, I'm not dealing with my patients, Dr. A, that are basically dying in the intubated, because I saved them before they get intubated. So, and I've treated hundreds, probably 1,000 patients. I have the 3 clinical trials right now at the FDA level, 1 on prophylaxis, 1 and 2 on treatment. And guess what? We've not lost anybody. So I think if you treat early, you cure the patients, and that's where we should be on the focus. And we should also focus on the fact that Some people are just stronger microbiome than others and will survive no matter what you do. I have a patient that, kissed her boyfriend and has a super strong microbiome and she never got it. And the boyfriend was COVID positive. Same thing with the farmer and his wife. I've got a guy who's a gastroenterologist in Alabama, went to a party with 30 people where everybody was COVID. His wife was positive for COVID. He slept with his wife, lived with her. For 3 months, we followed this guy. We analyzed his microbiome. He never caught COVID. So those are the people we need to learn from. Those are the cases we need to understand. And that's where the research needs to be, is focusing on why are some surviving and why are some not surviving? And we shouldn't be focusing on the 0.1% that's dying, but on the 99.9% that are surviving the virus.
So we actually got a good question, and this is good. This is a good conversation to have. Both passionate about COVID research. We got a good question from Heidi. Wouldn't assessing everyone's microbiome be much more difficult than distributing vaccines? I'm wondering how that would work at a mass scale. So basically isn't vaccinating more cost effective and just effective, period, than analyzing microbiome? I know
if vaccination is safe long term, and if vaccination is efficacious. But as we've seen, 5% of people that got vaccinated get COVID. So is it efficacious? I don't know. And again, I'm not anti-vaccine. I think you should vaccinate, especially the population that's like high risk and the population that feels like they want to. However, there is a population that is healthy and that I'm not sure you should vaccinate, especially the children. So I have a big problem with the children's studies right now, because the children, as we've seen, have not been affected so much. And what are we doing to that generation? What are we doing to the children of that generation? Right? We don't know. That's a big gamble. Humanity's gamble. Anyways, I'm not here to get all uptight and be passionate.
No,
I am
great.
passionate about research.
This is awesome. I like both sides of the spectrum. I think it's important because, like you said, you're wanting to focus on the healthy, and then Dr. Al's focusing on the one or however
the at risk,
5%,
maybe
the at risk. Yeah, and so I definitely see both sides, right? And I definitely fall in line with both of you on the different perspective. I do though, I've been following you for a while. I had no idea this was the doctor you were talking about, Dan. I've been following you for a while. I actually love research on gut microbiome. I actually believe in it very much. So I'm really excited to.
I was actually in Dr. Hazen's study. I was in Dr. Hazen's study when I got COVID, and she put me on compassionate use. What was it? Azithromycin Z-Pack and hydroxychloroquine with the vitamin C, D, and zinc. And I kid you not, guys. I mean, I know I'm young and relatively healthy. Relatively young now. I got grays in my beard, so I don't know if you could say young anymore. But I kid you not, I took those meds. I felt better within an hour. I remember texting you, Dr. Hazen, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I still owe you a stool sample, by the way. So
yes,
I'm just putting it out there on that.
Clearly,
tie it with the red bow, Dan. Tie it with the red bow.
Yeah.
I still owe you that, and we got to do another interview. But I think there's a place for both.
Much better.
This actually brings up a really good macro philosophical point. Like, there's room in research. This industry is huge, guys. There's plenty of room to do treatment studies, to do prevention studies, and to do vaccine studies, long-term safety, efficacy. All of that can live and should live under our roof. And that bodes well for everybody in this industry, and that bodes well for everybody who's trying to get into the industry, and for the sites as well. I know 2 sites that are in here right now. They can't talk, but they're working on some of these vaccine studies right now. They wish, they're bursting at the seams. They want to share, but they can't. They're sworn to secrecy, so they can't do that. But there's a lot of researchers working on these things, and I think there exists a place for microbiome research. There exists a place for prevention, for treatment. What do you think going forward? Because COVID's never going away, Dr. Al, like you said. This is not going away anytime soon. It's going to come back every year, every 5 years. We need both, right? Treatments, vaccines. We're going to keep needing to change the vaccines. Like, what do you guys think? I'm curious to hear both of your perspective on this. Because this is a long-term problem. This is not going away in 2021.
I think you're right. I think, but we need, for those who are doing research on the front line of vaccines and therapeutics, we need ethical research where people are watching meticulously all the side effects and documenting and reporting to the FDA. That's really why we do research, right, Dan? So at the end of the day, we cannot put anything under the carpet, and we have to have full transparency on everything.
Yep.
And, not be scared of the virus. I didn't step into these protocols by being scared of stools or COVID-19. I didn't think I was going to find stools, COVID-19 in the stools, but I did find it in 100% of the samples we tested. And, I wasn't scared. I said, you know what, I'm trusting that if I do things the right way, in goodness to help humanity, then goodness is going to come out of it. And I'm going to find the answers. And I hope that every scientist and every doctor that is out there is doing the right thing for humanity and doing the right thing for their kids and their grandchildren. Because at the end of the day, if we are making a mistake with the children and vaccinating the children, we're affecting the next generation. And that's what I worry about. Okay. I worry about a research that is done too fast, to move fast, because we're all scared of this virus. And this virus kills people that have high comorbidities that are not being treated early. Let's be honest. You've seen it, Dan. You've monitored my charts. These people that I've treated are like older with comorbidities, and they survived. We're talking about heart disease, renal failure, CHF, 88 years old, that survived from a triple therapy. That says a lot. We need to focus on the treatment and the prevention in the population that is at risk, because I certainly do not want to risk the generations and my kids' generations and their kids for the elderly population. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, we have to protect humanity. We have to protect our kids and their kids.
Yeah, and somebody said, and I agree. I mean, it's not treatment versus prevention. They're complementary.
They're complementary.
Exactly right. And
that's why they recommend for you to be at distance, wear a mask, and just this is the preventive that they know about it now. Using whatever you want to use to prevent it. It's not proven, but it's there. You can use it if you want to. But the only thing we know that can protect you against the virus is social distancing and wearing a mask and washing your hands. That's the bottom line. Okay.
Unless you know your microbiome and you've tested your stools and you don't have COVID in your stools, like me.
And we gotta know. How do we know? This is actually a good question. How do we know? Because our brand ambassador, not somebody, Christine Naro, our brand ambassador. What are the minority volunteer percentages for microbiome research? Are they different from the vaccine? So, are you seeing anything different as far as minority participation in your microbiome research versus the industry at large? What are you seeing, Dr. Hazen?
No, I mean, minorities, we see a whole diversity of patients. We're not seeing, we're seeing differences definitely in the minorities. But, that's expected, I think, but not, we're seeing compliance from both, from all races. So, we're seeing a good diversity.
Well, I think after this video, everybody's going to send you their stool sample.
Yeah.
So be ready. Be ready by your mailbox with the hazmat and everything.
Bring it on.
Little bow and everything.
Yeah, Dan, presentation of COVID-19 in other countries, okay, in Far East, in Mid East, all of this, now they're finding out it is by diarrhea. It's not cough and like this. It's diarrhea and fever, and then they go and they diagnose them with COVID. So the effect of the virus in the GI is well known and well studied in most of the other part of the world. Here, mainly the presentation is this type of virus. It's pulmonary more than GI, but you still have GI symptom with it. Any virus can be shed by stool, most of the viruses.
Well, everything ends up in the colon, right? So all the bugs end up in the colon. So
exactly.
And ACE2 receptors are in the bowels. And of course, the virus is going to sit in the bowels. But remember, the virus is way smaller than a bacteria. And if your colon is full of bacteria that are sitting and residing and occupying space in your colon, the virus is not going to find room to lodge in the bowels. Only if your gut is out of balance and dysbiotic will the virus come in and infiltrate and sit and replicate and create havoc on the rest of your microbiome, which is essentially your immunity.
Well,
So, but tune
Right.
in because
But even you,
the
Dr.
data's
Hazen,
coming.
I mean, even you, I mean, obviously the safety and the long-term efficacy of the vaccine, nobody's questioning. Okay, like we know for a fact it's long-term safety and efficacious. But you've got to admit, aren't you glad the vaccine is being rolled out, or are you saying that?
Absolutely. There is a population that absolutely requires it. That
Mhm.
is, it's definitely done a lot for the elderly folks that they feel that they're protected. So I think if anything, just to calm down the anxiety of everyone, to have that shot probably calm down everyone.
Reopen things back up.
Reopening the society, feeling comfortable. It's like, wearing that seatbelt and going to drive and knowing that, hey, I've got my seatbelt on. So if I get into a car accident, I'm not going to die. Right. So 100%. But can we criticize, and we have to criticize as scientists, that's what we do. Can we criticize the fact that it was a high speed vaccination protocol? Can we criticize the fact that it's going high speed into the kids? Should we be giving it to the kids? These are all questions that I think scientists need to kind of say, I don't know. I mean, if we don't question science, we're just a bunch of robots, right?
I think there is an open clinical trials now, about 3 or 4 for kids in different age. And last time the CDC recommendation is for kids below 12 because their immune system is not as intact as the one above 12, and adults, they can get it, but the one below 12, there is a lot of clinical trial that's been running now to see their effect and if they get a response as children above 12 or the adult for the vaccine.
Well, the problem is once you vaccinate the kids, you don't really know what the long-term effect of this vaccine is. Hopefully it's a short effect and it protects them, and that's the end of that, and protects everyone, hopefully. But, I know they're starting to do the trials. I saw the phase 2 and 3 running from Moderna for 6 months to 12 years old on kids. Let's see the data, right? That's what it's all about. It's about seeing the data, short-term and long-term, and efficacy and safety. That's the most important. And I just hope that everybody that's doing those trials on the front line are paying attention and asking the questions and seeing if there's effects, and not just saying, oh, well, coincidental or not, it's not an adverse event that's clinically significant, because I think every adverse event is clinically significant in this. We have to pay attention.
Yeah, I actually want to thank you so much for bringing that up, because and I don't mind saying it here, but I feel like right now the kind of environment that I think the whole world is in, more specifically the US, we're kind of in this cancel culture, right? And in the situation of research, there shouldn't be any type of bias to speak on one side. Research is about looking at the data, as you said, understanding the pros and the cons, regardless of what people are wanting, even though right now it's more about, I think, listening to what people are wanting, but I think we need to find a good line in between. And in this situation, I think that both of you all bring up two very good points, and you both are very good representation as to why we need to have both sides talking openly and fully, not just focusing on one scientist that the US feels is right. We need to see multiple scientists all over the world showing representation from all over the world, talking about what they're seeing, how they feel about it, something like that, because to be quite honest, you're the first researcher that I have seen actually openly speak this open and I will say passionately as well about your opposing opinion. And I'm glad to hear it. I like hearing both sides. And I think that everybody on here, for the reason that we have 29 people viewing and it's almost the end of the hour and they're still viewing, that shows a lot about the conversation, right?
We still got
This is,
networking to do, guys.
yes, still got
For
networking.
both Dr. Al,
Well,
Dr. Hazen,
yes,
and I monitor both
exactly.
Dr. Al and Dr. Hazen. Not only what you said, Ashley, but
Mhm.
they're two of, you know, the FDA looks at PI oversight. These are two, I monitor both their sites equally. These are two of the best PI oversight I've ever seen anywhere.
Yes.
I mean, they're very involved in their research. They know every little thing that's going on. And so I think it makes even better piece of content to have them both on at the
Exactly.
same time.
Yeah, because they
I
both
think it's
clearly have.
important. And by the way, Dr. Al, no offense, you know, I didn't mean to be heated with you. You're an excellent physician. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, I like to ask questions and I like to challenge because we have to challenge. We have to challenge the research. It's
You're
important.
invited. You're invited, Dr. Hazen, to East LA when we open Dr. Al's East LA Huntington Park
Perfect.
site. But so both of you guys, Dr. Hazen, I posted on Latinos in Clinical Research. We have
Good.
jobs, right? So coordinators, both are always looking to hire coordinators. So just go to
Good. Send them my way. We need them.
latinosresearch.com. Yeah, go there. And then anything else, Dr. Al or Dr. Hazen, that you'd like to say before we open it up, or Ashley or who, or Monica or Chris? Where's Chris? Chris is hiding.
We have one question from Marjorie. She
I'm
says,
here.
what can you recommend to strengthen our gut? Culturally, we eat different types of foods, which is very good. Very good question. I agree. What would you recommend to strengthen your gut?
Vitamin D, that's your priority. Make sure your vitamin D level is perfect. Vitamin C, we all know about vitamin C, and then zinc. Zinc is a nutrient that blocks COVID from entering in the cell, extremely essential. So in the nutrition world, that's what I recommend. I also recommend eat the food that you're comfortable with and that has worked for you. Keep yourself in a, you know, stress-free, as much stress-free as possible, because obviously stress, anxiety kills your good bacteria. So that's what I recommend on a holistic approach.
I have a question about that because after I spoke to you when I had COVID, you strongly recommended yogurt probiotics.
Oh, yes.
So I've been eating like literally 2 yogurts every day. Is that important as well?
That's important. So yogurt, Activa yogurt, kefir, manuka honey, chicken broth, cumin, you know, all those spices.
Yogurt or vaccine? Yogurt or vaccine for Chris?
Well, listen.
We'll stick with the yogurt for now.
Well, listen, at the end of the day, you know, as much as I would love to see everybody, you know, get along and one part, etc. At the end of the day, everybody's different and everybody has different visions and different opinions and different ways of looking at medicines or vaccines, etc. And we have to work with everybody, right? Because it's not that simple. We're all individuals and we all have different races. And that's what the beauty of humanity is. We're all different.
Yeah, it's not binary for sure. It's definitely not binary.
Before everybody leaves, I just want to invite everyone to the Malibu Microbiome meeting, Zoom meeting. It's at www.malibumicrobiomemeeting.com.
Let me put it in the chat.
The code is MMM21. I will be discussing how what I found so far from COVID, the importance of microbiome, what is a good microbiome, and basically all my partners, all my doctors are going to be speaking about fecal transplant and Parkinson's, fecal transplant and autism, fecal transplant, chronic UTI, the risk of fecal transplant, the benefits of fecal transplant, the microbiome, what do we know so far? And essentially finding COVID in the stools. My scientist is going to be discussing how we got to see whole genome sequencing in the stools. Very important topic.
Thank you for sharing that. Awesome.
I put the link in the chat. The links will be underneath the video description as well.
Awesome. And I think this conversation is great to have it also because we have 7 billion of people out there that wants to hear both of the sides of the research, right? And obviously everybody has different point of view. This is like art. We can all be watching the same and everybody has different point of view. So thank you, Dr. Alan. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, guys.
For my pleasure. Thank you, guys. I'm going to go because I have a bunch of patients waiting for me. Okay. It was a pleasure. And speak next time.
Thank you, Dr. Hazen. Always nice seeing you.
Same here. Bye.
Awesome.
Now we open it up for mixer. You guys want to do some mixing? Eileen Schneider,
I need
the writer.
to go, Dan.
Good.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right, Dr. L.
Thank you,
We'll talk
Dr. L.
later.
Thank you, Dr. L.
Thank you,
Always nice
Dr.
seeing
L.
you.
Bye.
We'll do the thing in Huntington Park. Eileen Schneider, the writer. I know you're on. I hope you're taking notes, scribbling down some stuff.
Oh yeah,
That was awesome, you guys. I think one of the best so far. That was great.
very good.
Awesome. I love both sides. Both sides.
Yeah,
Very
I didn't think
intense.
either would come on, and they both came on. It was great. I think it was great. I think they're basically saying the same thing. We need science. We need more research. It's just Dr. Hazen's very passionate about the microbiome and the research she does. And I actually owe her a stool sample, so it reminds me to send her that. Because, geez, I'm like, I'm the worst patient ever, guys.
Calendar.
I'll stop recording, and then we can have a private networking. So no more public. Here we go.